Okay, I'm going to walk you through what you're supposed to do on this activity called Was the American Revolution Avoidable Summative Assessment. To start with, you should open up your Google Classroom, and once you're in your class for this class, we're going to go to today, and we see up here, these are the things you're going to be using in this activity. We start with Was the American Revolution Avoidable Summative Assessment. So in here, I have put all of the information you need for this project. So to start with, you have up here your overall summative assessment document, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. You have the rubric that's available to you that tells you how you're going to be graded. You also have this video that you're watching right now that tells you about how to put together this American Revolution Avoidable assignment. And then you also have how to do WeVideo Basics. That was a tutorial that I gave on how, or have given on how to edit video in WeVideo. And then finally, it gives you all the different requirements for the final project. Again, when you get to choose what type of project you're going to do, most people will do the documentary, and so you'll find that all here. That's under assignment number 25 in this year. Okay, that might vary from year to year, but same idea. It'll be in the today area. Okay, so to start with, if you remember back a month ago, we worked on supporting question 1. And if you don't remember what it looks like, you just open up this document, and inside here, we had to answer the question right here. It's talking about the question, how did the French and Indian War change relations with the colonists? You were going to decide if it really did change the relation with the colonists or not. I have provided you with 3 sources of information. This one link right here will take you to the summative assessment, and that's inside this overall project. And inside here, you have all of the different sources you should be using. For example, here's question 1, summative, supporting question number 1, source A. This talks about the debt that the British were in because of the French and Indian War. You can see from 1750 how that debt will just jump from into the 1760s and 1770s following the French and Indian War, and how they were paying a huge part of that debt, and how they needed to get the British colonies to pay more, including the American colonies. And it talks about here the debt that they actually had right here, and how much government spending and how much revenue they had, and how much the national debt was going up. And you can see that one year right here, 1762, when the French and Indian War was going on, how much debt they would go into. So that's an important part. And then you also have the territorial gains. This really has to do with the French and Indian War, how they win the war and they get all this new territory out here, but now the British tell the colonists, you can no longer go west of the Appalachian Mountains. That's that green line right there. This area out here would be reserved for the Native Americans. And so that meant this Indian Reserve means the colonists are now trapped over against the East Coast, and how that made them angry. So this all has to do with supporting question 1 here. All has to do with, basically, you should give me background information about why the war was fought in the beginning, and then you should give me information about how that led to debt. The war, French and Indian War, led to debt. And then you should give me some information about how the Proclamation of 1763, also what it is. Always think in terms of the who, what, when, where, and why as you look at each of these subjects here. And then you should also tell me about the colonial reaction to this debt and the Proclamation of 1763. So we've already done this activity, so you should have this. You should have received a score 4 through 1, or a 0 if you didn't do it. But 4 means that you had provided all the important facts. 3 provided you provided most of the important facts. 2 is like a sum of the important facts. 1, you didn't provide very many important facts, and 0 is you didn't even really turn anything in. Okay, so that's how supporting question 1 went. So you need to get that information in there. And remember, I did supply you with that a example web in here, and it talks about all these things. Don't forget to cite them. like source A here. I used New Zealand in this one. So again, this is on the website. You can find this information to be able to fill out the graphic organizer for this. Then we went on to supporting question 2 right here. You can click on this, and supporting question 2 leads us to the question, how did the British policies inflame the colonists? So this is where we're going to be looking at all those different acts that the British made. And again, we have a web that you can look at, and I put up most of the acts. I put up some, like an example here. Some of the acts you'd want to make sure you put in this would be things like the Stamp Act, the Quartering Act, the Townshend Act, the Tea Act, the Intolerable Acts, the Declaratory Act. You'd also want to have in here the writs of assistance. You'd also want to talk about taxation without representation. You'd also want to talk about the Quebec Act, the Sugar Act. And you could even talk about, if you're really looking for that 4 grade, you could even talk about the death of Christopher Cider right before the Boston Massacre, and how all those things that the British did to the colonists, did it make the tensions worse with the colonists? So did the British make things worse? That all is what this section is about how the British either did or did not make things worse for the colonists with all these different acts. And that's what you're going to be explaining to me there. Okay? So that's supporting question 2. Supporting question 3 goes into details. Again, here's all the sources of information I provide you. Each one of these is a link to it. So all you have to do is just click on the link to get more information. But supporting question 3 is dealing with all of the things the colonists now do. What did the colonists do to inflame tensions? So supporting question 2 was, what did the British do to inflame tensions with the colonists? Now it's, what did the colonists do to inflame tensions with the British? And again, I put together a graphic organizer for you. This one is a little more formal, and I gave you some of the topics you should talk about in here. That is the Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party, the tar and feathering of people, the Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress, both the first and second Continental Congress and what they did, boycotts and non-importation agreements, the pamphlet Common Sense, and the battles of Lexington and Concord. And I also said, if you really want to hit that 4, you should probably do like the Daughters of Liberty, Sons of Liberty. You could also do the Committee of Correspondence. You could also do the Stamp Act Congress. All these things had to do with tensions. Either you think they did or did not increase tensions between the British and the colonists. In this way, the colonists inflamed the tensions. So you'd want to make sure you would talk about all of these different events in here. Okay? So that is supporting question 3 here. Again, there's details on what I'm talking about right here. If you want to read about it, talks about all these different things in here for supporting question 3. Again, to get a 4, you'd talk about all the pivotal facts that are involved. 3 would be all the important facts and details. If you have some of the facts and details, you'd get, and a few of the details, you'd get a 2. But if you have very few of these facts and details on each of those topics that are in there, you're going to get a 1. And then if you don't even try to turn anything in, then you're going to get a 0. So that's supporting question 3. And then, so that's the next one. So now assignment 25E, which is supporting question 4, this one now looks at the question, what efforts were made to avoid war? What did the British do and what did the colonists do to try to avoid war from coming? And so early in the process, the British, now this one again, I'm trying to give you a chance to create your own graphic organizer now, so I did not provide you with a graphic organizer for this one, but you should make your own. And this graphic organizer should deal with the idea of what efforts were made to avoid war. What did the colonists and British do to try to avoid war from happening? And the 2 big things that you're going to be talking about in here will be the repeal of the Stamp Act. That was early in the process, right after the Stamp Act was passed and it was being talked about putting in place and even put in place. Then they finally will decide, the British decide, okay, we better look at this. That's the repeal of the Stamp Act. And then during the Second Continental Congress days, you have the olive branch petition that's sent to the king, trying to work things out. So you should tell me again the who, what, when, where, why, as far as all of these different topics that I'm going through. There's also one more, and I gave you background information, all those. There's also an interesting story in here. It's called the excerpt from Plain Truth. And what this was a colonial loyalist, which is known as a Tory, who was providing a rebuttal to Thomas Paine's common sense that you will put in supporting question 3. So again, if you're looking to get a 4, I would also make sure I include this. And very importantly, make sure you are citing actual quotes and information from the sources. That's really important, and make sure you're citing those sources. That goes for supporting question 1, 2, 3, and 4. All of these need to have information from the sources I'm providing. You can get information that's beyond what I'm providing. That's how you get to that 4 range. But for a 3, you have to get information from the information I'm providing. You must provide evidence in the form of quotes and evidence that you'll find in there, and make sure you cite them for each one of these. In whatever graphic organizer type you're doing, you want to cite them. Okay? So now, that's the backstory. You have all of the information from supporting question 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've already graded those and provided you with a grade from 0 to 4. 4 being exceeding standard, 3 being you're at standard or grade level, 2 being you're just below it, and then 1 is you got you're way below standard, and then 0 is you haven't even turned anything in to be graded. Okay? So you should have a score from 1 through 4. Again, you can work on this with a partner. If you got 3s and 4s, if you earn 3s and 4s on all of 4 of these assignments, you can work with a partner on the final project. If you have 1s and 2s, you can still fix those and turn them into me, and I will grade those, and you can then move those up into the 3 and 4 range. Okay, but I would do those soon. Do that soon so that I can get those graded. But again, you can go through and grade or redo, add in more details, add in citations, add in more information from other sources, add in more information completely to prove to me that you've learned these 4 supporting questions here, and that go along to help you answer the bigger overarching question, was the American Revolution avoidable? Okay? So now, once you got all those done and you've turned them in, you got 3s and 4s on each one of those, then you're ready to come in and look at the project types. So the projects, you have 3 different choices. 1, there is the WeVideo documentary. This is the one I recommend because it's probably the easiest. But there's a video tutorial here that you can watch that's put together by WeVideo, but there's also a WeVideo basics that I go through and talk you through how to put together this project. Okay, so I've already gone through this in class, but if you want to watch this video, you can watch it and get more details on it. Okay, and so if you look at the choice board, which you'll see right here, I just clicked on it up above in my tab. I also provide you with a list of what are the requirements. What do you need to do for each of these? Well, for the documentary, what do you need to do is you need to create a storyboard or a script for your documentary. I don't want you to just try to go off the cuff. You have to have a script or a storyboard. So for this documentary, so you write it up just either like a document where you have each slide 1, slide 2, that's going to be each of the pictures you provide and what you're going to say that goes along with each of those pictures. Okay? So you're going to put together that or just put together a storyboard, and I can show you a copy of that if you need some. I have plenty of them for you. And then you're going to be ready to create your documentary in WeVideo. Well, what needs to go into your documentary? You start with an introduction. In that introduction, you should have some kind of attention-grabbing hook at the beginning. Something that's going to grab the viewer's attention and make it so they want to watch. Then the big thing is you need to pick a side based on your claim statement, which our claim statement, we talked about this earlier, was the American Revolution avoidable? You're going to say either yes or no. Don't try to go back and forth. You're going to have to pick a side. Okay? And once you've picked that side, you want to provide the evidence that's going to support that side. So you're going to, after you get done with that, in your introduction, it's almost like you're writing an introductory paragraph here. You have a hook, claim statement, and then you want to provide some of your strongest evidence, not in complete detail, but just an overall, what is your important evidence that you have that's going to prove that this revolution was avoidable or was not avoidable? It's up to you to decide that part. So this is like your introduction, like an introductory paragraph. Then you're going to somehow, whatever you want as far as the wording you use, you're going to go into the first supporting question 1. And again, you should, in this supporting question 1, make your claim statement. You pick a side. Was the French and Indian War, says the French and Indian War, did or did not change British relations with the colonists? So if you say did, you want to provide the evidence that supports that. If you say did not, then you want to provide all the evidence that supports that. And this evidence, again, is based on these supporting documents that you put together, your graphic organizers. Okay? You can find information from other places, but that's where the main part is going to come from. And then after you've provided all the evidence, so for supporting question 1, after you've talked about the French and Indian War and gave me some background information about it, who fought in it, when did it happen, why did it happen, what was involved, what were some of the major battles. Once you've gone through that, then you want to talk about the debt and how the debt played a role in it. And then you want to talk about the Proclamation of 1763 and what role it played in it. And then you want to talk about the colonial reaction to all those things, the war, about the debt, and the Proclamation of 1763. Then you want to transition into supporting question 2 and how the French and Indian War led to the British policies that either did or did not inflame tensions with the American colonies. So what were some of those policies that made them in either did or did not inflame the colonists? Well, things like the Stamp Act, the Quartering Act, the Townshend Act, the Tea Act, the Intolerable Act, the Sugar Act, the Declaratory Act, the Writs of Assistance, the Quebec Act, and then, of course, that idea of just overall taxation without representation. What's that mean? Explain that to me in this supporting question number 2, after you've given me your claim statement, whether you did or did not think that the British had policies that inflamed this. Okay, that's all your evidence. And then you want to transition into supporting question 3, which talks about the colonists' role. Did they or did they not inflame tensions with the British? Pick a side on that. And then you want to provide evidence on that. I would look at things like the Boston Massacre. Again, for each one of these, you should give me the who, what, when, where, why about each of these things. But you should talk about the Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party, tar and feathering of people as a way of intimidating people, British officials, boycotts and what role they played. The pamphlet written by Thomas Paine, Common Sense, what role did it play? The Battle of Lexington and Concord, what role did it play? People like the Sons and Daughters of Liberty, what role did they play in this whole issue of the colonists and British tensions? What role did the Committee of Correspondence play? What role did the Stamp Act play? What role did all those things play in the colonists and the British having problems, especially coming from the colonists causing these tensions, if you believe that side? And I don't know if I mentioned this one, but also make sure you have the Declaration of Independence and what role it played in pushing us towards revolution or not pushing us towards revolution, depending on your side. So that's all that evidence. And then transition into how the colonists tried to, or how both sides tried to avoid war. Did you think they did or did not try to avoid war? Or you could even go into the fact is that were they or weren't they helping push towards war? That's kind of your decision to make. You have to decide that. What efforts were made, and were these efforts, should they have been successful? Should they have not been successful? You decide, okay? And then, again, evidence. What evidence do you have? Again, I'll just quickly reiterate what that evidence from, which again should come from your supporting question 4 here, but things like the repeal of the Stamp Act, the olive branch petition, even excerpts from the plain truth that will basically rebut what Thomas Paine would say in Common Sense. Those things were all supposed to kind of ease the tensions between the British and the colonists. And why were they not successful, or why did they help ease or should have they eased tensions between the two sides? Okay, so all those things go into here, and then a transition to the conclusion, and then a conclusion. What should it be about? Well, so far what you've done, in the introduction, you've told me what you're going to tell me. In the supporting questions, all 4 of them, you've told me the information, and then a conclusion should kind of tell me what you've told me already. So revisit that overall claim, was the American Revolution avoidable? You should also, you can either do it here or somewhere else in your paper, or I'm sorry, in your documentary. You should tell me a rebuttal to the counterclaim. So if you're saying the American Revolution was avoidable, then you should tell me why the other side is wrong. Why is the people that say that it was not avoidable, why are they wrong? Or vice versa. If you're saying that it was not avoidable, why are the people on the side of saying it was avoidable, why are they wrong? So give me some evidence behind that. And then summarize your most compelling evidence that you have to support your claim, and then some kind of final statement that wraps it all up. Again, make sure you have high quality titles, music, voiceovers, images. All that stuff can be found in WeVideo. All that stuff. The one thing I did show people that I did provide for them, that I've showed you in class, is under media, I did share with you all of the pictures. So it's under that shared everyone folder. I provided you all these pictures for your project. So it should make it easier for you to be able to put together your project. Okay? And again, on your project, I'm just going to pull one up here and open it up real quick. So you have your project here. Remember, to make this, pizzazz this up, and you can get all these details more, and I want you to watch my other video about WeVideo, but I don't think I put into that one about how to use the Ken Burns effect. So I want you to remind you about that, is how does the Ken Burns effect work? And again, if you have a clip, you put it in video 1. Click on the little edit clip. You can decide how this is going to go, and then click on this animation. Again, this is the clip
already.
This is what I'm
and
talking
you say
about. How
something
you can
like
make it
Paul
go in and
Revere's
out.
Midnight Ride.
So I want to decide how I want that to look. So I start. I can put this right here, and then I want to start it here. Sorry. So at start, I want it to start zoomed out, and then at the end, I want it to zoom in, so I put this part, zoom it into where I want it to zoom out. I can move the picture around however I want. And then what happens is,
already,
it
and you
zooms
say
in as
something
it goes
like
in.
Paul Revere's Midnight
So
Ride took place on April
as you were
18th,
then
April 19th,
recording your voiceover,
1775.
you'll have
He
this zoom
warned
in to add more
that
visual
the
interest.
British regular
And
soldiers
then you
were
hit done editing, and you're in this. Again, watch my WeVideo demonstration on how to use WeVideo that's attached to assignment number 25. It's right here, WeVideo Basics. Both these videos that I just did here and the one that's the WeVideo one are located right here. Okay? So again, if you have any questions, you can always hit the stream and send me a message this way, or you can send me a direct message right through here through the assignment. Okay? This is another way you can click and send me direct messages too. So I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, contact me, and good luck. Thank you for watching.